Welcome everyone to Hotel Tech Unwrapped, episode 4, brought to you by IMS. The purpose of this podcast is to simplify hospitality technology to empower hospitality decision makers to generate a better return on their technology investment. My name is Denis and Helena.
And my name is Helena O'Brien, and we are back for our second part in taking a deep dive into hotel Wi-Fi. So, Denis, in part 1, we spoke about how important is great hotel Wi-Fi, and you covered 5 principles to hotel Wi-Fi.
Absolutely, yeah. We try to simplify it. I'd love for people to go back and listen to that because it really sets the scene for today in the second part. And now we're going to get a bit more practical in terms of the deployment examples, typical scenarios, and also on the area of sustainability. So where would you like to start today, Helena?
Oh, I know exactly where I want to start. I suppose when I first started learning about Wi-Fi and IMS, I had lots and lots of questions. And I love to build, an image in my head when somebody's explaining something to me. So it started with a conference hotel. So imagine you're 150 bedroom hotel and you have a separate conference wing, right?
Yes.
So you want to make sure your hotel guests are enjoying great Wi-Fi, but you want to make sure your conference guests are experiencing great Wi-Fi. But some of those guests are going to move from the hotel over to the conference wing and back, etc. The lunch might be served there. So basically, you just want to make sure everything works seamlessly for the guest. So what I'd love to get from you here today, Denis, is what that looks like from a technical point of view. How do you get it right?
Yeah, brilliant question, right? And this relates to a lot of the principles, of course, that we covered the last day, right? That idea of that site-wide managed network is really important here. The 3 SSIDs are very important here. So those 3 networks could be conference, could be staff, and could be guest, for example, right? And as we say, they're site-wide, okay? The objective is that when you come into a hotel reception area, that you can connect to the network and then that you can roam seamlessly throughout the whole property, regardless of whether this is in a separate block, a separate building, etc., because you will have connected this in some way through your cable infrastructure and through your switch environment, etc. Right? So you connect onto the Wi-Fi and you can roam throughout the property and stay connected. Okay, and a good kind of acid test that we tell clients to do is connect to the Wi-Fi, roam like a typical pattern in the building. So take a good walk around while on, say, a WhatsApp audio or video call. That's a super simple test for any hotelier to do to see if their Wi-Fi network is well designed and see if their guests can roam seamlessly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that type of setup, this is a good example of how challenging a hospitality environment is. Okay, so if you imagine reception area, reception is going to have more people in that area and more devices typically than what you find in the guest room. Okay,
Yeah.
so that environment's a little bit different. But then you go to the conference center and you could have hundreds of people in a really small space. And again, so that's a more challenging environment. Okay. So that's about picking the right brand, of course, like technology that can basically work very effectively in each of those scenarios. How would we design that network? So we would have access points in the reception area, obviously access points in the bedroom area, in the guest room areas, and then obviously access points in the conference center. How those access points are then configured would be slightly different. Okay, so we used an example of a motorway analogy in our first podcast on Wi-Fi. If you think about the guest room area, you can basically set your channel width on Wi-Fi. Okay, so you would typically set it wider in that area. So think about 3 lanes on your motorway, but they're a little bit wider, and that means you can go faster in your car if you want to use that example, right? Because you've just got less devices in the area, you can use your available Wi-Fi spectrum, more generously, we'll say. Okay, in your common areas, you would typically have a little bit narrower lane because you've got more people to connect and you want them all to be able to connect and have a reliable Wi-Fi experience. And then in your conference area, you would typically configure that to be very well managed. and quite narrow lanes, because you need to minimize interference in the area, because it's a big open area. There's loads of devices connecting, and you want to minimize the level of wireless interference in the environment. Okay, so something that comes up quite a bit is like, we have a customer. They're in the conference area, right? They're there with their phone. They do a speed test on the Wi-Fi. The speed test shows like 30 megabit download, 30 megabit upload. Okay. And they ring and they say, look, I'm in the conference area. We have an issue with speed because I'm paying you guys for 1 gig of broadband, and I'm paying you for the best in class Wi-Fi network. Okay. And at that point, you need to explain that, look, how the conference center is configured is different to the rest of the hotel, because we need to make sure that loads of devices can connect reliably and use the internet reliably in a small area. So if you think about 30 meg, you can do a huge amount with 30 meg, and have a really good experience. But that would be the reason why you would see maybe a lesser speed test in like a conference area versus what you would see in a guest bedroom.
Now, I'm giggling to myself when you're talking about this scenario because I attended a conference last year, and IMS provide the Wi-Fi. And for anybody who is watching and listening, I was super excited to walk into this conference, new into my role. I was so proud, and I had done a Wi-Fi test in the hotel lobby, and I was like, wow, it's super fast. I hadn't checked into my room yet, but I went over to the conference wing, and I decided that being the lover of a particular business social network, that I was going to take a snapshot of a Wi-Fi test that I was doing in the conference wing, and I was going to share it online. I was getting super excited. And I ran the speed test and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, that's not what I experienced in the lobby. And I reached out to one of my colleagues in IMS, and they, in fairness to them, they went through it all in such incredible detail with me. And my takeaway that day was, by narrowing it down, you're creating consistency for the guest experience in that specific area.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie, folks. When I first tested it, my heart went crossways, because I thought, oh my God, I'm just after selling this Wi-Fi into this hotel, and this is the experience that the guest is having. When actually, if I had taken the time to ask the question, how is this all managed? I would have learned that what the guest experience is in the public areas versus the hotel guest bedroom versus a conference area is quite different. So that's a great explanation, Denis. Thank you so much. I just wish I'd asked you that question before I went to that conference.
Absolutely. And I like to think about it like that motorway analogy is just so simple to visualize. So like if you make really wide channels available, so just say you have no lanes on the motorway, technically that means you can travel faster, right? So your speed test could be like 500 meg, for example, at that point. But the chances of collisions increases significantly. So packet loss and just inconsistency of performance, right? So that's the balance you're always trying to strike. And that's where that experience is so important when deploying a Wi-Fi network.
Absolutely brilliant. And while we're on the subject of the importance of hotel Wi-Fi and how it's managed, something that I discovered through a conversation with you recently blew my mind. Now, I probably say every week that something blows my mind, but lads, I'm still learning, right?
Yeah.
I'm still learning, and I'm fascinated by it, because I'm like, I thought this was so simple, but Wi-Fi is so complex. It's not simple at all. I do believe in Ireland, we have the most incredible standard in hospitality. It's exceptional. You look anywhere else, and I don't think anyone touches what we do here in Ireland, from the people to the infrastructure itself, the refurbishments that are going on, the new hotels that are opening, the food. I love that things are locally sourced. Like it's fantastic what the hospitality sector in Ireland delivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were having a conversation about all these fantastic refurbishments that are going on at the moment, and how there's these beautiful linens going into rooms, there's gorgeous furnishings, etc. And it's impacting on the hotel Wi-Fi. Now, there is a solution, and rather than me explain the solution, I'm going to hand over to you because I think the way you explained it to me that day was fantastic, and I'd love for you to share it with everybody who's listening.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes, it's a really good example because, as you say, it's really common, and the refurbishment rate is getting quicker all the time. So there's changes happening in the building, right? The most important thing to understand is that Wi-Fi is a living organism, right? It's a living thing in your hotel. Okay, so this is something you must be aware of, because we could install a Wi-Fi network today and it could be really high performing, really good network. But if you change things, or there's external factors that will start impacting the performance, right? So there's two things that impact Wi-Fi. One is other sources of Wi-Fi or RF signals. Okay. Now that can be within the Wi-Fi network itself. So you can have interference created by your own Wi-Fi network if there's things on the same channels within distance of each other, but also external RF sources. Like, so, typical examples, if you're in a built up area, a hotel, and you just say there's a hotel built next door or something, and they turn on their Wi-Fi network, that signal will start to leak through into your building and can impact on the performance of your Wi-Fi. Other things we've seen is where, like, people have turned, hotels have, say, put in a casting solution where they maybe had to turn on the Wi-Fi within a TV or something like this. That's introducing new RF into the environment and can significantly impact on the performance of the Wi-Fi. So it's a living thing, and other sources of wireless will impact the performance. Okay. But the second bit, which is the refurbishment bit, is, physical things, physical obstruction has a significant impact on your Wi-Fi performance as well. So if you change the structure of a building, if you change the building materials, if you change furniture, right? If you there's certain types of paints that have a significant impact on how far Wi-Fi can penetrate or the quality, this will have an impact too, right? So one simple example was where a hotelier changed, like, the plasterboards in the bathrooms as part of the refurb, and there was a certain type of foil back on the plasterboards. After the refurbishment, it massively actually impacted the ability of the Wi-Fi to travel the required distance, deliver the right experience in the guest rooms. It required a bit of investigation. It required a change in the access point locations and addition of some access points as well. So the overall point is that it's a living thing. If you're making any refurbishments, or if you're introducing any new technology that works on wireless, you need to be aware that that can have an impact, right? And the easiest way to check this objectively, of course, is there's really good approved wireless survey tools on the market, and generally you can pay an experienced partner a relatively small fee to do a snapshot in time of how your network is performing, give you objective data, and you can make improvements. And in an ideal scenario, you do the snapshot before and the snapshot after, and you can then see, wow, okay, we're back on track here.
Yeah.
This is going to deliver the experience that I want. Okay. So
yeah, it's a great example, actually, because we were doing the Wi-Fi upgrade for a stunning hotel in Ireland last year, and they were spending a significant amount of money in upgrading the property. And I had been shown this wireless survey tool for the very first time, so I could see a heat map of what it looked like when we did the Wi-Fi upgrade. All the access points were installed in bedrooms, etc. Right, and it looked super. The color was gorgeous, as I said. Right, but when the bedroom furnishings went in, and we went and redid the wireless survey, it was entirely different. Well, it wasn't entirely different. We just had to reassess where access points were. We needed to revisit the solution to improve it, that it wasn't going to create any difficulty for the client in the future. And it was just something as simple as adding beds and tables and stuff into a room. Like I was fascinated by this, but it just goes to show the importance of investing. Like, you're investing in these gorgeous new things that people can see, they can touch in their room, right? But for a small amount of money, you can invest in a wireless survey tool to be carried out within your property. And what is that going to do? That is going to enhance your guests' in-room technology experience. Something that they may not be able to physically see while they're in the room. But as soon as they go to log on to their iPad, their phone, their kids might want to cast to a device, it can immediately have a negative impact on the guest experience.
Yeah.
And by just a small investment, a simple thing that can be done by somebody who's actually a professional in this area, that can that can have a positive impact on you, because ultimately we spoke in part 1 about how guests are not giving a fantastic hotel a 5-star review because of a negative Wi-Fi experience. So, you know, you can save yourself a lot of money and protect your online reputation when it comes to the Wi-Fi experience.
Absolutely. And something that's very common, of course, now is adding casting experience in hotels. And so you're putting in typically an external Chromecast device behind the TV, right? And even as part of refurbishments, you may have TV surrounds being introduced and these kind of things, right? That Chromecast device requires a certain level of signal to function effectively. But you've added a really small device with a very small basic wireless card behind a TV, right? So there's a challenge in terms of getting enough of Wi-Fi coverage to that. You may end up turning up the power on your Wi-Fi access points, etc. All of this changes that living organism, right? And you really just need to be aware of that. Just as I said earlier, if you have great Wi-Fi today, it doesn't mean you're going to have great Wi-Fi in 3 months. You need to understand it's a living thing and then work with a partner who can guide you through the changes that you're making in the environment.
Excellent. Thanks, Denis. The next area I would really love to touch on is sustainability, right?
Yeah.
And how Wi-Fi is supporting hoteliers deliver on their sustainable objectives. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of technology out there. If I was still working in hospitality, I could be swamped in just research alone. So to have the opportunity to give an overview to people here today is fantastic. So I'd ask you to explain why great Wi-Fi and how great Wi-Fi is supporting hoteliers with their sustainable objectives.
Yeah, so it's a great question. If you start with the network itself, okay, we have a switch network and then we have the Wi-Fi access points. So as we said before, if you design that switch network well, you can accommodate other services, which means you have less hardware overall in the building and you have less power consumption associated with the network itself, right? There are certain brands of access points that when they're on a low level of utilization, so maybe no one is connected or a minimum number of people, they can actually downregulate the power that they're consuming automatically. So a reduced power type functionality as opposed to being always on and always on at full power. Those are things to consider. And that's on the network side. I think that in terms of where the real opportunity is now is what can you connect to the Wi-Fi network that can make a difference. Okay, so like you think about door locks, online door locking solutions, right? Particularly as the digital guest journey evolves, you can now connect the door locks directly to the Wi-Fi and not have to create a separate RF network for those door locks. And then, of course, you have the really advanced stuff where you have IoT devices in guest rooms that connect onto the IoT sort of platform or protocol in the access point and on the Wi-Fi network. And what that can do then, if you would say 300 rooms in a hotel, that IoT sensor, which is actually a very small device, is battery operated, has a very long life, so say 6 to 7 years. That can detect occupancy and it can detect, say, the room temperature. It can do a lot more, but just take those two functions, right? Then that can detect that there's actually 100 rooms unoccupied in this hotel right now. It can basically provide this information back through the Wi-Fi network and to the IoT controller platform to send a command to the building management system to say, look, this 100 rooms have no one in them, and we want to reduce the baseline temperature to say 17 degrees, right? And then that happens automatically in the background. And then as those rooms become occupied again, it lifts the temperature back into, say, a more comfortable temperature when the room is occupied. These types of things are happening now, which is amazing to see. And the opportunities are endless. And again, it's back to this idea of a reputable brand in terms of Wi-Fi for hospitality. The top ones are providing this IoT functionality built into the access points and providing a platform where you can communicate to building management systems. And this is being deployed, and it's really cool to see it, and it's saving on significantly on energy costs and of course on your carbon footprint. So it massively helps your sustainability objectives.
It's brilliant, and there is so much going on out there, and technology is evolving every single day. And I think as we all learn more about how we can perform more sustainably, but also have a positive impact on your carbon footprint. It'll have a positive impact on your P&L. It has a positive impact on not just your guests, but your staff as well. Like it's amazing how Wi-Fi is becoming. No, it's not even becoming. It's core to any hotel now. It is the fourth utility. You have your electricity, your gas, your water, and you have your Wi-Fi. That's the way I look at it now, because more and more is relying on Wi-Fi. And as you said about working with a reputable hospitality brand when it comes to a Wi-Fi network, I'm seeing it in the reports we're receiving with different brands, like IoT. That's a heavy focus for them.
I think that's what's very interesting, right, is working with some partners, right, and we've been exploring this in partnership with them, but you've got to the point now where if you have a digital guest journey, so an application for the guest, right, you can have these IoT devices, you can connect them to the Wi-Fi network, you can connect them to the building management system, and you can actually empower the guest to control their own environment, right? So, for example, if you are checking in online through your phone on the way to the hotel, you can actually set your desired room temperature for when you arrive and say the time you're going to be arriving, right? And then it can be at 20 degrees when you arrive, right? This is phenomenal, because I've often walked into a hotel room where it's just too hot and I've had to open the windows. It's absolutely crazy, right? But the influence that can have in terms of your energy consumption and your carbon footprint is significant. But also, some brands are exploring this idea of rewarding guests, like kind of green guests, right, who have lower, say, water consumption and lower energy consumption during their stay. They don't want to interfere on like the comfort of the experience or anything like that. But if you are conscious and thinking that way, you can be rewarded with like 10% off in your next stay. So this is becoming really innovative. And the last point is that if you think about the staff shortage or the talent challenges that exist in the industry, many employees in hospitality are in that younger age bracket. They're much more conscious about sustainability. They purchase with this in mind, but they also work for brands with this in mind. So again, if you're ahead in this area, this can significantly positively impact your sort of recruitment strategy and your talent retention strategy as well. So there's just massive opportunities in this area. I know it's pretty new, but I would say that we are genuinely working with brands who are moving super quick, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to revisiting it and to learning more about it and bringing it to the masses, as they say. So we could talk about Wi-Fi all day, but we have to learn to wrap up, right? And what I'd love to do now is share some key takeaways. So I'll kick off with the first one.
Okay.
If I've learned anything over the last number of years, it is nobody knows your hotel better than you do. Nobody knows your customers better than you do, what their needs are, and any issues you may face around Wi-Fi in your property. Okay. So whether you are looking to improve your existing Wi-Fi network or whether you're looking to upgrade your Wi-Fi network, when you sit down with any potential partner to do this, share that information with them. Okay. Because like we just touched on with the conference hotel, you could have a 100-bedroom hotel, restaurants, bars, etc., and your conference wing is entirely different to your hotel. Share that with the provider and work on developing a solution that's going to work best for you, your operation, and of course your hotel guests. Denis, what about you?
Yeah, it's a really good one. For me, it's understand that your Wi-Fi environment is a living thing, and changes you make to that environment, wirelessly or physically, have an impact on the performance of your Wi-Fi. And again, work with an experienced partner. Use like survey tools to understand where you're at. But yeah, it's a living thing. It's like Frankenstein, Helena.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to bring that into a sales pitch moving forward. Wi-Fi, it's like a living thing. It's like Frankenstein.
Mm.
I don't know, but I love it. And look, another one for me is the right Wi-Fi network can help you on your sustainability journey. I think that's huge. Every business is on a sustainability journey. Whether you're advancing in it or you're at the very start, it doesn't matter. So look, a great Wi-Fi network is going to support you on that journey. And let's be honest, everything is evolving and it all starts with great Wi-Fi.
Absolutely. All right, super. That's a great 3 key takeaways. And just we remind everyone to go back and listen to the 5 principles and think about how you apply those in your organization. And yeah, we hope you all have a great Wi-Fi experience as a result. And then, look, the next session, Helena, one thing that's super important to cover is broadband, right? And the fact that broadband is different to Wi-Fi.
Which I didn't know, folks, before I joined IMS.
We have some really good tips to, in terms of how to ensure you have an adequate, say, speed for your property requirements, the quality, the support, etc., and how you run backup services and failover, etc., to minimize your downtime. As we said, it's critical for your guests. It's critical for your operations. You could have the best Wi-Fi network in the world, but if you don't have broadband, unfortunately, it won't work. So we'll cover that in the next session. I loved these 2 sessions, Lena. As you say, we could talk literally all week about this stuff.
Absolutely.
But really enjoyed it and hope our guests and listeners have found it super useful.
Excellent. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the connectivity one as well, only because I now know what it is. And I know how important it is and the value of getting it right. But the part 1 and part 2 of Wi-Fi has just been brilliant. And there's so much more to talk about, but that'll all come down the road. Denis, thank you so much today. Thanks to everybody for listening and hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Super. Thank you.